Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. It's that time again where I bring you my tips, facts, or experience that you may or may not find helpful. Mists of Pandaria Remix, a curious new limited time event that Blizzard is experimenting with in the last season of Dragonflight. The driving force behind this wild mode of gameplay is the single unifying currency, bronze. This allows you to buy everything from the pre-existing mounts and transmog, such as ones from the raids and world bosses, to new collectibles that have been made just for this event, and even armor upgrades and similar things that further empower your Time Runner, which is the seasonal character in this event. There are also a lot of RNG drop weapons that can't be bought, which have a low chance to drop from nearly any bit of content during Remix, and are all either unique recolors or unique models not found elsewhere. These currently appear to be specific to this event and have not been seen available anywhere else, so it's possible they'll be gone when Remix ends. There's a list of them linked in the Wowhead article in the description if you'd like to see what each one looks like. It has pictures. The three main ways to get bronze are open world daily quests, daily raids, dungeons, and scenarios, and leveling alts. If you only want one character for the whole event, then you will want to focus on the raids, dungeons, and scenarios, and the daily rep quests. But be warned, those RNG drop weapons that you cannot buy drop based on your class, so definitely look at the weapons and choose what classes you want to do. I'm sure there are some mob grinds and other sources for bronze as well, but these sources of bronze seem to be the most reliable. For the open world daily quest option, while it is chill, solo, and only needs one character, it's also painfully slow, and I don't personally feel the payoff is that great if this is all you're doing, as doing all of them on a max level 70 can take you 1 to 2 hours because there's just so many, and only net you around 8k bronze. That sounds like a lot, but in my opinion, it's just not for that amount of time spent. And as a quick tip, if you want the achievements for grinding these reputations to Exalted, go buy the commendations from the retail vendors first if you've already done these reps before on your main characters. That extra rep bonus does apply to your Time Runners, so that's nice. The other method that only requires a single character would be the dungeons, scenarios, and raids. Normal dungeons and scenarios are spammable with no lockout that I know of. Heroic dungeons and heroic scenarios I believe have daily lockouts, and each raid can also be done daily with each raid boss dropping quite a bit of bronze. That one seems to be the best of the three. You can also grab daily quests for more bronze to go with this type of content at any of the infinite bazaars. This is a great method if you don't mind doing instanced content in groups, though you will likely need to spend bronze on your gear instead of collectibles first, or you'll just have a bad time unless you have friends to carry you. Obviously, this is not a solo player method, so while it is good, if you don't care about power progression or group content like me, it's not really an option. So, the last and quite obvious method, leveling alts. As much as I did not want to, since I absolutely do not need more alts, this is how I amassed all the bronze I needed in less than a week. Let me walk you through my process, and don't worry, it's pretty simple. Firstly, if you've not leveled a Time Runner and Remix at all, you can still do this, but it'll be much slower on your first character as you are starting from a base cloak with none of the unlockable gear pieces. You can keep an eye on this next section since you can apply this to your first run if you wish, but I actually recommend doing all of the achievements on your first character while you level. That way you don't miss out on any of the neat rewards from them, since we will be hopping around a lot on the alts to focus on bronze, and inevitably, weapon drops. Anyway, I recommend creating at least one of each class. It doesn't hurt to do this first so that you're ready to just go for it. The two main reasons to do this are, A. There are unique class ensembles and arsenals for each class that come from achievements for free. These are the ones that look like the trading post recolors, and honestly I like these recolors better. And B. Those RNG drop weapons I mentioned that can't be bought drop based on class and spec loot. So paladins can't get wands, for example. And as a note for the single character or mono-class alt players, you can buy all of these special class ensembles and arsenals on any class after unlocking your first ones. But if you're doing what I'm doing, and you're making alts for bronze, and you need a variety of classes for those RNG weapons anyways, you might as well save yourself the bronze, get them for free, and level while doing it. I like multi-farms. So, without further ado, here's the breakdown of my process. Step 1. Make a fresh time runner and talk to the NPCs to get your alt cloak and skip the timeless intro. You can do it if you want, but you don't really get much out of it. Then, before you continue, grab some add-ons that will help you here. You can get all of these from Curse. Nye's to-do list, Handy Notes Pandaria, Handy Notes Universal Explorer, Silver Dragon, Paste, and Trove Tally. For Nye's to-do list, I've made a special mop remix profile which you can import from the string, I know it's long, in the description down below. You will want all these. They will make your journey far easier. Step 2. Level to level 20 in Jade Forest. Just follow the campaign, skip Lorewalker Cho and scenario quests, they take way too long, and you can quest in other spots if you check your zone map just like Chromie Time. It doesn't matter which one, as long as you hit 20. You can use dragon riding as soon as you start here, so make sure to talk to the trainer to unlock all your talents. You'll see the quest for it in Paddon or Honeydew by the purple triangle, after the Jade Forest intro. Also do any rares, excluding the Zandalari, that you come across in this zone, which you can see and will be alerted to thanks to Silver Dragon. Don't actively hunt rares yet though, we'll want to save those for later because of some XP distribution jank. Just kill any that you run into. Step 3. Once level 20, finish the quest you're on and leave Jade Forest. Fly down to Crosserong and on the east side. Start that campaign there. Do the entire zone, which will earn you the zone achievement. This zone only takes about 50 to 60 minutes to do, and again, kill any rares along the way. Step 4. With Crosserong done, fly over to your faction side of the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. Also make sure to kill any rares you find in the Valley of the Four Winds as you pass over it. Then, pick up the Meet the Scout quest just outside on ground level. This is for Landfall, which is one of the class ensemble achievements, and will also be leveling with it. Also set your hearth here, and stop by the gem vendor and pick up any rings, trinkets, or the neck if you've unlocked those. You're going to start wanting them. And, as a reminder, if you weren't already doing it, you'll need to start paying attention to your gear, tinkers, and gems. Don't forget your talents too. Our time runners are very needy. Step 5. Complete the entire Landfall quest chain that the quest we just picked up starts. Though there is an annoying quirk about this campaign, when you complete each section, it does not send you back down to Crosserong to get the next one. To know when to move on, track the original Operation Shieldwall Campaign Alliance or Dominance Offensive Campaign Horde achievements. The remix one doesn't give you the list for some reason, but it's the same campaign, and that will mark each part complete to let you know when you can go back to Crosserong and continue. Oh, and you do not need to do the scenario quest they offer unless you want to. It's not required for the campaign, even though it has the campaign icon. At some point, you should hit level 35 early during this, which is high enough to deal with the level 40 rares in the Vale. That achievement is also one we'll be doing, so keep an eye out for rares there, because we will be flying over it a lot during this campaign. And do note that unlike other zones, only a small handful of the rares in the Vale count. We're only after the achievement, so track that to know what ones you need. And, as a reminder, you can find any of the remix achievements in the special remix section of your achievements window. Step 6. After all of that, you should be somewhere in your mid to late 40s and the campaign should only have taken you 1 to 1.5 hours, depending on how many rares you came across in your travels. Now we turn our attention to some of the achievements. I like the easy ones: rares, exploration, treasures, and world bosses. This is where you'll definitely want to fire up the to-do list profile I shared with you, if you didn't already. This lists out exactly what we need to do. Now I know you need groups for the world bosses, so you can skip them if you like, since this is all meant to be solo. But these are open world, super easy, and they do give a nice shot of XP, so I like doing them. I've not had any issues filling up groups, which fill up really fast, if I make my own, so if you're struggling, I recommend doing that. And this is where you'll put to good use those add-ons I suggested, because the to-do list will keep you on track, Silver Dragon will show rare locations and alert you to them, and the Handy Notes add-ons will mark where treasures and exploration points are. We will come back to Paste and Trove Tally later. Now, with all of that done, you should be somewhere in your early to mid 50s depending on your luck with the XP threads. I dislike the RNG part of that. Anyway, it hopefully only took you about an hour, since the rares seem to have not too bad a spawn times, but that can vary wildly depending on your server population and when you play. So, if you find you're just struggling with rares and it's taking way too long, you can drop those achievements if you want, but keep in mind you'll get a lot less bronze if you do. Step 7. If you do skip the rares, make sure you're at least level 50, because it's time to head to the Isle of Thunder. Now I know we can technically go to the Timeless Isle first, but what we need to do with the Isle of Thunder is short and scales poorly if we do it later. First, some travel planning. Head over to the Vale and go to the Lorewalker area between the two shrines, and up on a ledge will be Chromie. Talk to her and pick up her quest, as the item she gives will send you directly to the Timeless Isle. But don't use that yet, we'll save it for when we're done with the Isle of Thunder. Now, to start the Isle of Thunder, head over to the Shadowpan area of Town Long Steps on the west, and check your zone map for the quest, The Storm Gathers. This will take you there. Once there, we have 3 things we can do, one of which we can skip. First, the campaign itself you're currently on. If you do just this, completing it will unlock the free class Arsenal. However, this questline is made up of solo scenarios that were notorious, and still are, for breaking. So this choice is mostly up to you. It seems to give about 2 levels and only takes about 30 minutes. But if they break, or you just want to get your arsenal and get out, you need to kill 3 rares. You'll get a lot less XP, but with how this guide ends, I promise it won't matter too much. You only need to do one of these 2 things for the arsenal, as doing both doesn't really grant you much more. The third thing is killing Nalik, which is a world boss, and that's also optional. But again, I like doing these for the XP and bronze, so I am doing that. Step 8. You should still be in your mid-50s, since Isle of Thunder doesn't give much, and that hopefully only took you about 30 minutes at the most. Regardless, it's time for Timeless Isle. Remember that quest we picked up from Chromie? It's time to use that item she gave us and port directly to the Isle. Now when you get there, there are what I call fake campaign quests that you can do, but there is no remix achievement for completing them, so that's why I call them fake. They do seem to semi-overlap with what we'll do here, but I skipped them personally because you'll notice that I don't have the Timeless Isle rares listed in your to-do list. I did not account for the rares in both time and experience, simply because it's been an absolute madhouse there, and trying to tag any rare has been futile for my alts. Kinda feels like a waste of time. So, it's your choice if you'd like to include the rares, but you can at least do the treasures. The Celestials, which you can do all 4 in one day, and Ordos. For some reason, I noticed Handy Notes Pandaria is no longer showing my treasures on Timeless Isle, even though it certainly was when I picked it up. So if this is the case for you, this is why I had us grab paste. The coordinates for the easiest treasures are in the description, so just slap all those into paste, which the button will be on your minimap, and it'll show you where they are through the TomTom add-on. The Celestials and Ordos do need groups since they are world bosses, and it really seems to vary if you can get groups or not for these. Even if you make your own, for some reason as overpopulated as Timeless is, I've struggled to get people to help with the Celestials. So if you have patience, you can do these, but you can skip these if you like. Spoilers, I usually do. Now, with all of that madness done, you'll see you are at the very end of your to-do list. Nice. You should also be in your mid to late 50s, or if you're lucky, even your early 60s, and hopefully only spent 4 to 5 hours doing all of that. Depending on a bit of RNG and what you skipped, I tend to be around 40k bronze at this point, but we're not done yet. Because it's now time to whip out Trove Tally. This is a nice list of all of the RNG drop weapons that you cannot buy, which I had mentioned earlier in the video. I recommend taking a moment to look through this if you haven't yet, and soak in what you do and don't need, as well as note their sources. And while I've heard mixed reports, according to this add-on, loot drops are spec-specific, as much of a nightmare as that is. Yay. I also recommend taking a look at the Wowhead post on these items, linked in the description, because that list has pictures, and you can just scroll a little quicker than you can in-game. There's a lot of them, so, you know. You can also view them in-game from Trove Tally by control left-clicking each weapon name. There are so many. I know I am not going to be able to get all of them before the event ends, so since you might not either, take stock of what you want and where it comes from, because for the rest of this step, this is your focus. In my case, I'm excluding the raid, dungeon, and scenario drops, so that leaves open world zones, including Isle of Thunder and Timeless Isle, and each zone has its own loot list. Pick a zone to quest in based on the weapon drops you want for the class you're on, and be mindful of spec as much as you can. Reference Trove Tally frequently so you don't, mess this up. When you do, complete all the zone quests for the best chance at weapons and for that extra bronze too. If you happen to want the Timeless Isle or Isle of Thunder weapon drops, well, those are a little harder since they don't have the long zone campaigns like mainland zones. Timeless has rares, mob grinds, and that super short campaign, which just tells you to hunt rares. And the Isle of Thunder has a lot of dailies, luckily, rares, and probably mob grinds too. Luckily, if you did do the Isle of Thunder campaign, you'll have access to all those dailies, so I guess it's kinda good if you didn't skip that. And if you're wondering how the quests are rewarding these, since they don't say they do, it's the loot boxes you get from turning in quests that have a chance to drop that zone's weapons. I prefer this personally because while you can rare hunt or mob grind, I prefer something that at least feels more reliable and readily available. I have to keep my sanity somehow. Step 10. So, the weapons grind part is kind of ongoing, and you can technically keep going through all the zone quests on that alt until you have nothing left, which would probably be wise if you want everything. But whether you choose to do that or stop once you hit 70 and fire up a new alt, hold your horses for a second. As soon as you do hit 70, pause and head back to the Vale or another bazaar because there are delicious quests to grab from Momentous, marked with a purple triangle. In total, you'll get an extra 40k bronze from the 3 quests he had, if you didn't pick 2 of them up early that is, which means you should have between 60 and 100,000 bronze, if not more at this point. I'm usually in the 80k range because I do 2 full zones after the Isle of Thunder, and I've actually been skipping Timeless Isle because, well, I don't really like it there. Now, you can spend as you like and either start a fresh alt or keep going through the zones on this one or raids or whatever you need to do now, then just rinse and repeat. So, This means once you do all 13 classes to 70 with this method, and assuming you averaged at 80k bronze per alt like I did, that is over the 1 million bronze mark, and you'll have gotten all the special class ensembles and arsenals without needing to buy those. Congrats! That said, even after buying all the vendor items and getting all 13 classes done with their arsenals, it's possible you still don't have all the open world weapons if you were sorely unlucky, like me. It's me. I'm the unlucky one. Granted, I've not yet gone through all the zones on all of my alts, but I have been targeting specific ones like Valley of the Four Winds and Town Long Steps. Weapon drop rates are awful. So for those of us who don't need anything else from the vendors, and we've done all 13 classes already and still don't have all the zone weapons, this is when I would say it'd be good to pick up doing the open world dailies in the zone you want those weapons in, unless you really want more alts, or maybe look into some mob grinds, which I'm not a fan of personally. Regardless, if you have any tips or ideas on getting these open world weapon drops, suggest it in the comments. This is a limited time event, so let's help each other out. Good luck, you're gonna need it. Did you know I stream on Twitch now? I do everything from transmog to leveling to gold making, and I'm live 5 days a week to chat with, so come hang out. And there we have it. If you think I've missed information or you want to request I do a specific guide, let me know in the comments below. Even if I don't answer you, I just might add your idea to my list. As always, thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's never too latte.